Super League 360 after the Hooter, Wakefield Trinity 14, Hull FC 10. Instant reaction after the round 4 game. John, your first thoughts? Johnny Davidson.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an entertaining game right down to the last set. The last couple of tackles, very gritty performance from both teams. But yeah, Wakefield, the one who got the chocolates. Worrying signs, I think, for Hull FC. What's that now? I'm trying to think.
Lost one winning 3.
One winning
4. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Smack again, beaten by your Wakefield, and they got that close round 1 win over Bradford. So, yeah, not good signs for John Cartwright and his team.
Best players on each side for you?
I think I really liked Jack Sinfield. I thought had some really nice touches from Wakefield. Obviously, he joined in the off-season from Leeds, the son of the legendary Kevin. And I thought he had a really good game. Corey Hall was also quite strong, the centre for Wakey. But for Hull FC, I think, Lewis Martin and Arthur Romano down that left edge. Martin is a huge talent, probably the best young winger in Super League, probably the best young outside back. Got a couple of tries, made a ton of meters, and Romano just showed a real bit of class in some of the assists that setting up Martin in the corner.
I'm glad you mentioned the left edge because defensively that's a real problem, that side for Hull as well. So it'll be a tough conundrum for Cartwright, what he's getting on the offensive side of the ball, on the attacking side versus the balance in defence. And this game today was probably more about the defence because both sides didn't really execute sensationally. I was a bit worried for Wakefield at the start because Hull came out of the blocks in the first 10 sensationally, really. I don't know if you remember, but they made a break from their own 20 metres down the middle of the field, which is unforgivable. From a Wakefield perspective, that's unforgivable, leaking from there in the middle of the field. And Hull capitalised on that. They kicked well, they kicked long, they defended well too. And I think Wakefield was shocked by that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think you're right. Hull FC started really strongly, probably dominated, the most of the first half. You could see Darryl Powell's expression in the stands. He was not happy. But then there was that massive turning point, wasn't it? Right before half-time, Davey Litton let the ball bounce. And that was just a gift for Wakefield. I mean, it's been like probably the last 5 or 10 years, Lee, and you're the coach. You can tell me, why do fullbacks and wingers let balls bounce? They seem to do it nearly every game, and it's not something I can remember from, say, the 80s and the 90s. And
it certainly doesn't seem. It certainly doesn't seem to happen in the NRL as much. And
they do it though. I've seen it in the NRL. It seems like, we don't want to potentially knock on, so we'll let it bounce. But it just you're just basically hoping for the best. I
think one of the big differences between NRL and Super League will be the amount of analysis that goes into the opposition kickers. So even under Des Hasler and Matthew Elliott, when I worked under them, the statistics and the graphs and the diagrams they would get of opposition kickers through the technology, through the analysis systems. And it would allow the likes of Brett Stewart and the Wolfman at Manly and the guys like your Coot at Penrith, so on and so forth. They could actually semi-predict where the kicker was going to kick. Okay, I don't know how advanced that technology is at the Super League. I've got to be honest. So that could be an extra. That could be a few extra 1%ers just right there. Okay. Secondly, I think the back three, so the 2 wings and the fullback, they concentrate that much on the pendulum defence that they're trying to do that sometimes they don't communicate very well, particularly in a loud stadium, and particularly when the fans are quite vociferous. And of course, in England, they'll make all the noises when the ball's in the air and whatnot, and that doesn't seem to happen as much in the NRL. But they literally will come down to communication sometimes, and of course, the kick pressure before somebody's even kicked the ball. And because of the speed of the rucks, John, and I do want to talk a little bit about this in a while, because of the speed of the rucks, sometimes the kick pressure isn't getting there in time, so the kicker is kicking off the front foot. So there's a few things there, I think, to consider.
I think I think you are right on that communication. Obviously, Blinton hasn't been the starting fullback. Will Price is out. And I think he just generally, whether he was out of position or the communication for him to take that ball wasn't there because it wasn't really an option. He just didn't get there. But yeah, it was for Hull FC. It was a costly error, and gave Wakefield the initiative early in the second half.
The thing about Wakefield, I'll go back to Wakefield. And you will have more historical context of this because you've been watching Super League significantly over the last decade. Wakefield, to me, do so many good things that make them look like a well-coached, well-drilled, fit side. But I can't help but think that something is missing from that side that maybe wasn't there last year or the year before. Can you shed any light on that thought? Because they are looking quite clumsy in attack sometimes. They're not executing the way they should be, I think, for a team that was in the higher realms last year.
Yeah, I mean, Wakefield, you can't really compare them the last 10 years because the club has changed so much in the last 2 to 3 with a new owner and new investment. But last year was a massive step forward for them. This year, they're 2 wins from 2 games. It's not been a terrible start. But
2 from 4.
Sorry, 2 from 4. Yep, that is what I meant, not what I said. I think personally with their squad, they're probably still missing a few, real lethal attacking weapons. Like they've got the structure and the base of a very good team, and they've got some very good players in positions. But I think they're probably 1 or 2 players from being at least 1 or 2 players from being a top 2 or top 3 side. But I think they have good enough players to make the semi-finals. They're obviously missing Tom Johnston, who is, their number 1 finisher out in the wings. But, the Wakefield of 2015, 2016, 2017 is chalk and cheese between now and what the club used to be. So they've definitely moved in the right direction, as in upwards.
I think the reason Wakefield have won tonight is that they built more pressure in the second half. The possession stats were pretty even with 10 minutes to go, but Wakefield's completion was slightly higher and their meters gained was higher. And I just think that they put Hull under so much pressure. That said, they didn't finish up with the amount of points they probably deserve from all that pressure, which comes back to execution and discipline, etc. And I got the feeling in the second half that Hull were hanging on for dear life, even when the game was still in the balance. Did you get that impression?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Truman he made a great break. What was it? I think the 52nd minute, beat a couple of players and then passed the ball on the inside when he probably needed to just hold that pass either a fraction of a second later or maybe throw a dummy, and then his teammate got tackled right on the try line and they missed a try there. I think for Hull, I think what was worrying for me was also that last kick with 40 seconds to go. They just, surely you train for these scenarios. All right, we've got one set. We've got to get 60 minutes and score 60 meters and score a try. What do we do? They didn't really seem to have any structure. They just threw the ball around, and then it was just a pretty shit kick, which Tavanga took. So that for me wasn't a great sign of a team that knows what it's doing and has been sort of, coached in terms of this scenario. What do we do? It was a pretty poor end to the game from the Hull FC point of view.
I've been quite critical of Hull's edge defence throughout the year on my analysis videos in particular, but I'm full of praise for their effort in scrambling and hustle in general tonight, and I think their fans will get a lot from that tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they were up for it and they were in the fight. There wasn't a lot between the two teams. I think, as I said, that sort of failure to take that kick and a few other key moments went against them. I think what will be interesting, I don't know if you caught it on the telecast, but was the allegation made by Corey Hall. It wasn't clear what the allegation was. I think there was maybe an indication of someone grabbing at the crown jewels.
Okay.
But that went on report, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens on that front because, yeah, I mean, generally when an allegation like that is made, it's either one of a couple of things, isn't it? Attacking the testicles or biting, or sometimes something that's said, maybe racially motivated. I don't know exactly what was said. I'm not claiming I do, but that was sort of the indication that maybe it was some sort of attack to the genital area. But we'll follow. I'm sure we'll find out
To the
in the
Niagara,
next few days.
the Niagara Falls.
Yeah, well, it does happen in the lovely sport of rugby league.
I thought both sides lacked concentration at times, and there was a lack of discipline at times for both teams too. And I want to pose a more general question: are some teams really struggling with the pace of the game now?
Yeah, I think some have found it hard to adapt. I think Wakefield is still adapting. In terms of the changes and the refereeing, it did come sort of in late in terms of the preseason, and I think a lot of teams have been able to adapt. Some have been able to adapt better than others, and I think both of these teams probably aren't on the faster adapters at this point, particularly when you look at what LFC dished up against Wigan, who I think have adapted really, really well to the faster ruck.
Early Bird, our friend on X, has said, be interesting to see if Rugby League Coach on the Net, or RL Coach on the Net, which is what I am on X, analyses that Dross Wakey FC. I'm not sure Wakey was square at the play of the ball ever. There genuinely wasn't one time, said Andrew McClintock, but Hull will look at hooking the ball in the ruck to delay it and got away with it multiple times. Both teams need to be worried, in my opinion. Early Bird then replied, 2 bang average sides. Wakey just had that little extra, or a fullback who can catch. When you compare to Leeds and Wigan, I fear the worst all round. I think that's a little bit harsh, that last comment, and he's so right about the mate. Early Bird and friend, watch every Super League game and see that the markers aren't square. It's an absolute joke. I don't think I have autism, but I definitely have rugby league autism when I look at those rucks. Mate, the last thing I want to say about the game, unless you want to add anything else, I want to really say, I mean, I can't remember the last time I went to Bellevue, but that place is really looking the goods now when it comes to television. I don't know what it's like being there as a press.
Oh, no, it is. Yeah, no, it is great. I mean, I liked the old Bellevue on a summer day, on a Sunday. It kind of reminded me of Brookie. But the new stand is fantastic at Wakefield. They've done up other bits of the stadium as well, but the whole sort of mood around the place is much more upbeat. There's great light shows, and the crowds have really come in. I think Wakefield are around the 8,000 mark average, which is a good 2,500 up from what they were previously. So Matt Ellis and the Daryl Powell and the whole sort of Wakefield Trinity Club have really come a long way in the last couple of years, and they deserve a lot of praise for that.
So, John, before we go, I'm no doubt going to get flooded with emails saying, why is John always in his house when there's a game on? But you are going to some football this weekend, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was at Hull for the World Cup Challenge, and sadly I wasn't at Vegas. But no, yes. I'm going to be at Huddersfield on Sunday. So if you want to call in from 2 a.m. Queensland time or 4 a.m. at Queensland time.
Yeah.
But no, we'll be recording the usual Sunday night, Monday morning podcast. But yes, I'll be at the beautiful John. No, it's not the John Smith Stadium. It's the Q Stadium.
Should be called the John Davidson Stadium after last week.
No, it couldn't.
If you want to get questions to us, guys, we've been enjoying your questions, haven't we, John?
We've had admin
at rugbyleaguecoach.com.au is my email, and at Rugby League Coach Facebook and Instagram, or X at RL Coach on the Net, where the Early Bird and friend have just been tweeting. John, give your details out.
Yeah, you can get me on X at Johnny D. Davidson. You can get me on Facebook at John Davidson Journalist. I think we've already had a few questions through the week. I'll have to send them to you, Lee, that we can discuss
brilliant.
on Sunday.
It's brilliant.
Really appreciate. We've had a lot of messages, support, and listeners, and really thanks to everyone who's commented and listening. And we really appreciate your input. There's lots to discuss. I've working on a piece for the Eye for Saturday's paper on the NRL Super League talks. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Should make for interesting reading.
I want to apologise as well to everybody that the recording of last Sunday's pod came out a day late. That's just, I had a TTT, John, which is a terrible time with technology for a day. So,
in the words of Stuart McGill, move on.
Mate, should we create some arguments on this podcast to just get some newspaper and tweet? Should we, John? It's 19 minutes and 45 seconds since the game ended, and I'm going to try and set a record each week for how quickly we get the After the Hooter podcast out.
Over to you, Lee.
Thank you. See you all on Sunday, Monday, or you'll hear from us. Take care.